The Pewter Goblet, Part 7. Evelyn picked up the end of the rope and looked up at the balcony again. The distance and height the rope traveled meant it must have been pulled very hard for such a large pot to fall. On purpose. Inches from her. She dropped the rope. If she wasn't in the kitchen before the gardener came back, he could come looking for her. Panic welled up inside as thoughts of a confrontation with him flooded her mind. Before she could take a second step, a hand pulled her down behind a shrub. Only the smallest yelp came from her lips before she was face to face with a boy with barely a whisker on his chin. "Shh!" he insisted and looked around her towards the door. "Trying to get us killed?" Wide-eyed, Evelyn shook her head slowly. She'd had enough near-death experiences for one day. This was turning out to be a madhouse. "Evelyn!" Mrs. Archer was calling her. From the sound, she was standing by the kitchen. Her tone was coarse, with a touch of anger. Evelyn could hear her muttering to herself before calling again. "Evelyn!" At the sound of the authoritative call, Evelyn tried to stand, but the boy's grip was firm. She watched Mrs. Archer storm back into the kitchen, dreading the tongue-lashing that awaited her. That is, if she survived the next few moments. "Oh, no," the boy whispered, staring at the doorway. The gardener was returning with a fistful of carrots for Evelyn. Mixed emotions churned inside. Had she left the garden when she wanted to, Mrs. Archer would have seen her in the kitchen doing her job, and she would not have been alone when the gardener returned. Now she was trapped with a scamp who may not even belong on the grounds. But he also mistrusted the gardener, and she was curious to know why. The boy waved at her to follow him. She looked toward the house and back to him. Again he waved, insisting she follow. She nodded, and on hands and knees she followed him to the fountain in the middle of the garden. "Evelyn!" The gardener's voice sent waves of panic through her bones. He sounded close. What was she to do? "Where are you, lass?" She watched the boy put his finger to his lips and turn a metal filigree on the side of the fountain's basin. Silently, the stones beside the reservoir opened, and he slipped down into the ground, disappearing from sight. Evelyn could hardly believe it. The gardener was getting closer. "Evelyn!"